Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ghoul Society.
That's my big sister, Jamie.
And that's my little sister, Sarah. We are grateful to be recording on the stolen territories of the Lekwungen, Songhees, Esquimalt, and the Sonic peoples, whose historical relations with the land continue to this day. The fight against colonial violence and racism is ongoing, and we at Ghoul Society are committed to this fight and working toward reconciliation within ourselves, our families, and our communities. By listening to this podcast, you've officially been inducted into the Ghoul Society.
Well, usually you say underground Ghoul Society. But...
Okay.
No, okay.
Do you want me to do it again?
No.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
We're a little silly this morning.
Well, Jamie's a little silly.
Sarah pointed out I have 5 jars of liquids in front of me.
Yeah. Like 2 minutes. Like, why do you have 2 jars just for water?
I actually have 3.
Yeah, I know. There's one up there above your bed.
Because if I'm in the middle of the night, I get a little bit dry in my mouth, and then I need to...
Yeah, I know, but why don't you use the same jar throughout every single day?
Because I forget.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yesterday I brought in a full jar of water into my room because I was like, I really need this full jar of water. I need to drink more water. And as I brought it in and set it down, I set it beside another full jar of water. God. I know.
That's just bad.
I know. Also, I apologize to everybody because I'm sick still. I'm probably not contagious sick, but I am. You can hear it in my voice. I'm a little bit phlegmy. But that's okay. I'm excited for this story today.
Okay, well, before you start your story...
Oh, yeah.
First of all...
Let's catch up.
Yeah, well, I want to say thank you to everyone who's reached out to us with positive vibes about the podcast. It's so much fun to do it, and I'm so glad that everyone's really enjoying it. And it's just so exciting to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've gotten a handful of emails, which has been really beautiful and positive, and we're taking your critiques or criticisms as well. So, yeah, we're going to strive to continue to be better and just keep on keeping on.
Yeah, so I was talking to Dad on the phone the other night.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Me too.
Yeah, well, okay, he called me at like 10:30. He texted me. He was like, hey, do you have time for a chat?
I know.
It's 10:30. I'm going to bed. Sorry, Dad.
Sorry,
Dad. I did love our chat.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love when he's like, hey, call me.
Yeah. But anyway, he loves it. And yeah, he was just, thank you, Dad. We're so happy that you like it.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, Dad.
Yeah. Anyway, throwback to our first episode when we were talking about the house in Calgary. He told me,
oh my God,
that when he was renovating, remember we talked about this?
Yes.
He was ripping up the floors.
Yes, in the kitchen.
No.
Oh.
In the hallway where our bedroom door was.
Yes.
And there was a big stain.
Yeah.
On the flooring. So he's pretty sure that's where the previous owner died.
Yeah, a big blood stain.
And then
like actual blood.
And then he made that our bedroom. And he was like, I didn't even think really that you could see out into that hallway where your bed was, Sarah, because I'm pretty sure that's where he died. And I was like, great.
I know. And then the spooky thing about the basement, I think. Mm-hmm. Well, so one of them, they were an older couple. Mm-hmm. One of them died in that spot.
Yeah.
But the other one died by falling down the stairs.
Right.
But they didn't die like
there.
No, they fell down the stairs and then they were taken to the hospital and then they passed away.
Right.
But still
spooky. And then Dad said, when he started the floor renovations, he smelt the cigar smoke and he just like you and Uncle Hank.
Wait.
He said that he was doing the renovation work. He was by himself, and he smelt the cigar smoke. And
What
he
the fuck?
immediately got, like, really freaked out. He
Mhm.
left. He had to leave the house.
Oh my god.
Because he was scared. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
Dad, what the hell?
What? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that. So
Yeah.
the cigar smoke is a common.
Yeah, he thinks it was the guy who was in there before us, the man that died in the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
So wild.
Yeah.
So wild. That is a spooky house. I really want to go there.
I know.
Is it weird? You guys can all tell us. Is it weird to show up like 15 years later and knock on the door of the person whose house you used to live in and say, hey, can I look around in here? Because I used to live here. If someone came to me, say I bought a house, and then 10 years later someone came to me and they're like, I used to live here when I was a kid. I just want to check it out. I would be like, yes, please come in. Do you want some tea and cookies? That's what I would do.
Cookies. Okay, grandmother.
I know.
I think for us, I think we don't think it's weird, but I bet you the people who live in that house would be like, what the hell? Get out. Like, who the fuck are you?
True. Well, maybe. Also, you know what's funny is this is another dad shout out, and this is a shout out to dads all across the planet.
I think I know what you might say.
Dad requested I stop swearing as much, but I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm not going to.
Sorry, Dad. We do have mom's trucker mouth, so.
Yeah, that's true. And also, like, I don't know, swear words are really beneficial in order to convey an emotional feeling as long as they're, emphasis. And as long as they're used appropriately.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm swearing at people.
Yeah, I mean, Montana also will be like, why did you need to swear just then? And I'm like, because I felt like it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to because I can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what life is about.
Yeah, that's what life's about. Sorry, our podcast is rated 18 plus. So,
yeah, exactly.
If you're under 18, you better turn this off. This is your warning.
Okay, actually, one of my bosses, when he heard about the podcast, and I was like, oh yeah, there's 2 episodes out. And he was like, okay, is it like explicit? And I was like, well, yeah. He's like, can my kids listen to it in the car? And I was like, well, I don't think you want to do that. But I mean, like, if you swear around your kids, then that's really up to you. He's like, great, they'll be listening to it too, I guess.
Wow.
I was like, oh, okay.
Shout out to your boss's kids.
Yeah.
Hey kids, just listen. Just be a good person.
Hey, boss, and you know who you are. If your kids are listening, I hope that they're not scared, because I get scared when we record. So
sometimes I do too.
Yeah.
Like Hoya Forest.
Heebie-jeebies.
And apparently the next story that you're going to bring me in a while.
Oh my gosh. It's not even the story itself. It's someone who had a personal experience with the story.
Okay. Oh, that's even
and
scarier.
Their story. Like, when he was telling it to me, I wanted to cry.
Oh my God.
So, but you'll have to wait for next week to hear that.
I'm excited. Okay, my story today is not spooky ghost.
Okay.
And not eerie creepy.
Okay.
But it is spooky ooky in a different kind of way.
Like horror movie? Like make your skin crawl? Like what kind?
The person will make your skin crawl, but it is about a singular historical figure.
Okay.
There lived a certain man in Russia long ago. He was big and strong, in his eyes a flaming glow. Most people look at him with terror and with fear, but to Moscow chicks he was such a lovely dear. He could preach the Bible like a preacher, full of ecstasy and fire, but he was also the kind of teacher women would desire.
What?
Rah Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen. There was a cat that really was gone. Rah Rasputin, Russia's greatest love machine. It was a shame how he carried on.
Okay, I am ready. You know, I have heard this story about him before, but I don't remember it because my memory is bad.
Did you recognize that that's the song?
I recognized it at the end, not at the beginning. At the beginning, I was like, huh?
Yeah, so that's the Boney M song called Rasputin.
Yeah.
That song's been stuck in my head essentially since I wrote this. So it's Rasputin.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Rasputin's family was from I'm gonna butcher
Did
everything.
you not look up the pronunciations?
No, I did.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Rasputin's family was from Pokrovskoye. I can say them so good when I'm not on the spot. Pokrovskoye,
Okay.
which was a tiny 1800s quintessential Russian village in a far-off corner of western Siberia. Giorgio Rasputin was born in 1869 to a mother and father who were peasant farmers. Alongside being a farmer, his father was a church elder and also drove horse and buggy carts between cities for trading and buying and selling. His mother bore 9 children,
Okay.
7 of which died.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
In like infancy?
I think so, yeah. And Giorgio was the first of the 9 children to actually survive,
Whoa.
which I think kind of inflated his ego
Yeah.
from birth.
Probably.
Because I'm sure he was celebrated, like, a lot.
Oh yeah. Doted on.
Yeah. When Rasputin was in his young 20s, he met a woman from a nearby town while he was out on one of his many religious conquests. Not much is known about his youth life, other than he was probably just like a farmer, went to church, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So he's going on religious conquests sent out by his church to spread the gospel to the people. Her name was Praskovia Dobrovina, and she bore him 3 children. Her life was undoubtedly spent suffering at his hands, and at this time, Rasputin was beginning his lifelong habit of drinking and being a general sleazebag. Interestingly enough, and maybe because of the times, Praskovia stayed married to Rasputin until his death.
Oh.
So keep that in mind, because shit gets crazy.
Yeah, and she stays with him.
And she stays with him. Not only does she stay with him, but also, like, he's not around for the last, 40 years of his life. And they're still married.
Right, he just leaves.
Yeah. So not long after settling into family life together, Rasputin had his first vision. By this point, he was in his late 20s, and he was beginning his endless search for meaning beyond peasant farming. His vision was of the Virgin Mary, and there are a few different records of the story. Some say the Virgin Mary requested his help in St. Petersburg, and others say she encourages him to continue to spread the Christian gospel throughout Russia. Regardless, Rasputin was compelled to begin his pilgrimage across the country, leaving his wife and children behind to fend for themselves. He's just like, whatever, I gotta go.
Did the Virgin Mary come to him in a dream or?
In a vision.
Oh, in a vision.
Yeah. And he's like, I gotta do this. Peace out, y'all. Good luck. See ya. It's fine.
Well, he's not the first person to do that.
I know. And definitely not the last.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's going along Russia's countryside. In Russia, countryside wanders you.
What?
Do you get it? In Russia, countryside wanders you. Instead of you wandering the Russian. Never mind.
Oh, but is it from something or are you just making that up?
It's like a meme.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh. We're on different social medias. Clearly.
Also, clearly 5-year age difference. I feel like, though, this whole sentence, maybe I should just restate this whole sentence.
I thought we weren't going to do that.
No, but, cut out that whole part.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
Okay. I'm going to leave out my stupid joke.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, I can try again. So he's wandering along Russia's countryside. In Russia, countryside wanders you. Do you get it now?
Yes.
Preaching the Lord's word, which is kind of funny because Rasputin was actually illiterate. He couldn't read or write. Instead, he had all of his preachings memorized, which probably maybe actually was a common thing of the time.
Yeah, I think so.
Because people weren't out there reading and writing. They were just speaking, like oral tradition vibe.
Yeah, they're just
right?
speaking and working and being poor. I mean, am I wrong?
Dude, you're right. Fuck. It's no different than today, I guess.
Oh my god.
Along his journey, he met a ton of extremist Christian groups who were weirdly intertwined with late paganism and occultism. This later became foundational in his approach to Christianity. One of these groups were the Callists, who infused their teachings with mysticism and magic. They practiced something called sinning, wherein members would partake in this frantic, frenzied sexual orgies. By doing this, you could then repent and become closer to God.
Wait, okay, but...
Yeah.
So they would sin just so that they could repent?
That's right. So it's kind of like Catholicism based, but it also has it's also intertwined with paganism because it's more like occulty.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and it's just weird because typically aren't you just more holy if you just don't sin at all?
I know, that's the thing. I don't really understand.
Because I understand that repenting or like atoning for your sins, I understand that concept. But I don't understand purposely sinning just so you can repent.
No, I don't understand it either. And that's why it's like that mysticism element, right? And I also think that's more of a Catholic thing as well.
Okay.
To just sin and be like, it's fine, and then just repent for it.
And just be like, oh, he'll forgive me.
Yeah. Whereas
if I say I'm sorry.
I believe Christians try to...
Not.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So that's why all of this is a little bit strange.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. However, there's no proof that he was actually part of the Callists, but he definitely would have seen it upon his travels.
Right.
He ended up returning home a changed man. He swore to quit drinking, quit womanizing, and be a good man overall. But not so long later, he was called to commit his life to travel and spread the extremist Christian word, so he left again. And this was a super common practice of the time, and the Russian word for it is stranik, which is the direct translation of it is wanderer. And it was specifically used for people, particularly peasants, who were wandering across the country in search of enlightenment. It's a tale of as old as time, really.
Right.
Yeah. What do you think so far? Just wondering.
I'm very interested in what he's going to do.
Upon his journeys, he was regularly beaten and robbed by thieves, though he had nothing to give them. He preached from peasant to aristocrat and had this wily charm about him. He was tall, with heavy-set eyes, a long dark beard, and skinny black clothing, so his appearance was quite striking for the time. His gospel felt genuine, honest, and relevant to his fellow peasants, while the aristocrats loved him because they were looking for an unsullied and pure version of Christianity, aka something that was more tied to the occult. Isn't that so interesting?
Oh, how the tables have turned.
I know. So they thought that the purest form was essentially like Christian paganism.
I kind of love that.
I know.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, pop off, King.
So they found this connection to that unsullied Christianity within Rasputin's teaching, and he was immediately loved. His followers saw him as a deity, both physically and sexually, as he continued to spread the act of sinning for everyone to be able to repent and get closer to God. Though I think that this was just one way that he convinced tons of women to have sex with him. Like, if you have sex with me, then we can repent.
Yeah.
And we'll be closer to God.
I mean, it's quite similar to like a lot of cult leaders.
Yeah. I know. I kind of think he's just kind of like a cult leader, honestly.
Yeah. They just get what they want in the name of God.
Eventually, he earned his reputation as a spiritual leader in St. Petersburg. One day, he met these two sisters, Militsa and Anastasia, who were called the Black Crows. They were royalty from Montenegro and had married into the Romanov family.
Yes.
They introduced Rasputin to Tsar Nicholas and Tsarina Alexandra.
Yes. Oh my God, I just got chills.
Do you know about them?
Yeah, didn't they go missing?
I don't know.
Isn't it that family who went missing? Or
The Romanov family?
Yeah.
Well, something does happen to them at the end. So the Romanovs are the family that are in charge of Russia at the time because it's a monarchy.
Yeah, and I think one of the like princesses goes missing.
Wow. Okay. I'm just going to say right now, I didn't come across that within my research. But
Really? I gotta look it up.
yeah, look it up and let me know. Before Rasputin came along, the Tsarina actually had a mystic and healer who lived in their palace with them, Leon Franz Philippe. He served as their advisor and would share his visions with the Tsar and Tsarina, claiming he could make the Tsarina give birth to a son, since by this point she had given birth to 4 daughters who would never take up the throne. Poor daughters always, you know?
I found it.
Really?
They were all murdered.
Well, yeah. That's
Oh.
at the... Oh my God. We just keep spoiling each other's stories.
Listen, I thought that they went. Oh, no. People think that, like, Anastasia, like, survived or something.
Oh. Well, but she's not a daughter. She's... Militsa and Anastasia were royalty from Montenegro, but they married into the Romanov family.
Yeah. Okay, but anyway. It's like a conspiracy around that the family or something.
There's a lot, yeah.
Okay, so sorry I spoiled it.
It's fine.
You spoiled all of mine.
I know. It's totally fine. Even though Felipe, so we're on Felipe, right?
Okay.
Did you hear about him?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Felipe had gained a deep connection to the royals, but he was super disliked by the public because he wasn't Russian. He was from France.
Oh.
Tensions became so high that they had to send him back to France, but not before he shared his final prophecy. He told the Tsarina not to worry, for God would send a mystic in his place. Not long later, as we know, Rasputin showed up. The Tsar and Tsarina were in a vulnerable state at this time because there was a mini revolution happening against the Russian monarch, and the Romanovs were almost killed. They were both super susceptible to his influence when he arrived because of this kind of like trauma and torment and yeah. Now we go on to understanding how Rasputin became this healer within the royal family. The Tsarina Alexandra finally gave birth to a son, Alexei, who was born with hemophilia, and this was actually passed down from her bloodline. And just for people who don't know, hemophilia is a disease that impairs the body's ability to clot blood. So if you get cut or bruised, you just bleed out and die.
Right.
Yeah. When Alexei got hurt, Rasputin would work on healing him, and Alexei would get better, which was strong evidence for the royal family to believe that he was a mystic and a healer. There was a specific time where Alexei was internally bleeding and the Tsarina was extremely upset and needed Rasputin's help. Rasputin was like, "Don't worry about it, Queen. He'll be fine. Just tell the doctors to leave him alone." Crazily enough, the bleeding actually stopped and he lived to see another day. Now,
well, did the bleeding just stop because his body was like, well?
Well, there is a theory for this.
Okay.
The theory is that doctors at the time were actually using aspirin a ton.
Oh, okay.
And aspirin thins your blood. So if you have a blood clot disorder, you don't want to be taking anything that thins your blood because then you'll just bleed out more. Because the blood clot disorder is already kind of, well, it's not thinning your blood, but it's preventing it from clotting, right? So if you can imagine. And that's why, say, people who are on blood thinners, when they get a cut or something, they way more easily will bleed. And so those people shouldn't take aspirin.
Right.
So, yeah, the theory is that the doctors are giving Alexei aspirin. And so when Rasputin tells the Tsarina to tell the doctors not to show up, then Alexei isn't getting the aspirin.
Right.
And thus his body is more able to control it a little bit better.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Science.
But in their eyes, it's just Rasputin the healer.
Right.
Yeah. So Rasputin was extremely close with the family at this point, and the public sort of liked him because he was a commoner who weaseled his way into the royal palace. They were like, okay, hats off to you, buddy. And it seemed like he was like doing a pretty good job of being in the royal family. However, kind of when the royal family wasn't looking, he was still a debaucherous pleasure seeker and a drunk.
Oh, I thought he quit drinking.
No.
He lied.
He lied. Yeah, he totally lied.
Rude.
Yeah. And so he tried his best to hide this from the royals because that was a very peasant way of living and he's trying to fit in, right? But he was often seen in bathhouses with sex workers, drinking and partying excessively. There's a story from Rasputin Travels where he was staying in a hotel in Moscow, drinking and dancing all night long, kind of like you last night.
Yeah, at the club, baby.
At the end of the night, he jumped up on a table, exposed himself, and shouted, "This is the altar at which the Tsarina worships."
Oh my god. That is hot tea.
However, this story has been proven to be false.
Oh.
Even though it's spread time and time and time again in so many books about Rasputin.
Oh, wow. They just wanted him to be extra gross. They were like, what else could he have done that is so repulsive?
Exactly.
And we need to put it in this book.
Yep. And so on that, it became a story and a rumor at the time.
Right.
Because the police chief of the Bolshevik police services hated Rasputin.
Oh, shit.
And told all of his workers, all his police force, to start as many rumors as possible about him.
Whoa.
This is why there's so many wild stories about Rasputin and why his life is pretty mysterious and confusing.
Oh my goodness.
So it's really hard to know what is true and what is not true.
Right.
Because he was kind of a shitty man in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. But then there's a lot of stories that were actually just made up.
Oh my god.
So the police chief brought the story directly to the Tsarina, and she laughed it off. And she was like, this isn't true. But unfortunately, because of this, she actually never believed any stories about Rasputin.
Oh, okay.
Which kind of works against her later on.
Yeah.
There are rumors about Rasputin sleeping with Alexandra's daughters or Alexandra herself. Oh. There were even creepy paintings made at the time of Rasputin holding the naked Tsarina as if in control of her and thus in control of Russia.
Ew.
Yeah. Apparently, all of these rumors are false. What we do know is that Rasputin was a womanizer, and this is a trigger warning, he definitely did commit acts of sexual violence throughout his lifetime.
Right.
We just don't know what is true and what is not true.
Right.
There's this story as well where there was this housemaid working in the palace for the Tsarina. Uh-huh. This housemaid had brought some stories to Tsarina Alexandra and was like, Rasputin is sleeping with your daughters. Mm-hmm. And she was like, no, he's not. And then she fires the housemaid. Oh. So I don't know. I just don't know if it's true or not true.
Right.
And so I'm not going to quote that. But so there are stories like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, we are going to believe people who claim sexual assault because you always believe survivors of horrific things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One night, a sex worker who was hired by some men that didn't like Rasputin stabbed Rasputin in the stomach, yelling, "I've killed the Antichrist!"
Oh.
But it didn't kill him. He had surgery and miraculously healed, which is wild because it was 1914 surgery, and we all know what that's like. She was then sentenced to an asylum, and Rasputin carried on.
Not an asylum. They're the worst.
I know, a 1914 asylum.
Oh.
Yikes.
That really sucks for her.
There's one on the island, an abandoned one.
Okay, but where? Because I can't find it.
I know, but we should go there.
And get arrested? Who are we, Sam and Colby? I don't think so.
Shout out to Sam and Colby.
Shout out to Sam and Colby. we love Sam and Colby, but there is no way I could sneak into an abandoned building.
Okay, you're being a wimp. Come on, it would be so fun.
Yeah, and full of asbestos.
Oh, well, yeah, well, we just won't touch anything.
Okay, if
We could do a
if you
spirit
actually
box.
found it, I would go there.
Okay.
So it's up to you now.
Okay. Okay. I want to, but I'm scared thinking about it.
Oh, now who's a wimp?
But then we could go to Taco Bell.
Oh, is it in Nanaimo?
I don't know. It's somewhere around there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Rasputin. Rasputin carried on, and the public was beginning to dislike him because he was just way too wild, and they started seeing him around, right? Doing his peasant ways.
Right.
That, doubled with the rumors created by the police service and the hate that the aristocrats felt toward him, was really cramping his style.
Right.
Because they were like, ew, he's a disgusting peasant, and ew, he's not allowed in our class, and why is he in the palace, and what the hell is going on?
Right. Get him out.
Get him out. Later in 1914, Russia declares war on Austria and Germany. Rasputin claimed that he had a vision about this war, stating, "A terrible storm cloud lays over Russia. Disaster, grief, murky darkness, a whole ocean of tears, and so much blood. We will all drown in blood. The disaster is great, the misery is infinite." Kind of beautifully said.
That is beautifully said.
And
actually.
also super dark. So that was his vision for the war.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah,
For
he
them.
believed if Russia continued on, that it would be the end of the monarchy, the end of the Romanovs, and all Russian institutions as they know them.
That gave me chills because is that not the case?
The Tsar ignored his words, taking control of the Russian military himself and being more actively involved, which was actually a smaller and more distant role than what he was in before.
Oh.
Because he was like out in the field, and then this left the Tsarina and Rasputin to stay in the palace.
Yeah.
And Rasputin became the Tsarina's most trusted advisor during this time.
Right.
So to the public eye, they believed that Rasputin was in full control of what was happening on the battlefield. In reality, he apparently didn't actually have much influence, as the Tsar was ignoring his pleas. And also, like, don't you love... Yeah, of course. And don't you just love how it's like the Tsarina is in charge, but then everyone's like, no, the man of the house is in charge.
Yeah, like she's the royalty, but there's like one of her most trusted advisors is a man, so obviously we only have to listen to him and we're not going to listen to what she's saying.
Yeah, and obviously it's all just his fault.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah. The Russian aristocracy couldn't handle the failure of the war efforts being Russia's own fault. So they believed a German spy ring was operating.
Dun, dun, dun.
And that the Tsarina and Rasputin were part of this operation. They were like, they must be German spies. 2 years later, the aristocracy were speaking openly about their hate against Rasputin. They believed the only way to win the war was to kill Rasputin.
So they just kill him and then war done?
Well, this is how it goes.
Okay.
There were a handful of men, one of which was from the richest family in Russia. They were even richer than the Romanovs.
What?
And they set out to kill Rasputin. Their names are Dmitry Pavlovich, Vladimir Pirishkevich, and Felix Yusupov.
Richer than the royal family?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
How? How does that happen?
I don't know. I actually feel like the Romanovs weren't that wealthy. But they were in charge.
But they were royals.
Yeah, but it's just family lineage.
Yeah, but...
It's generational wealth, right? So it kind
Yeah.
of depends on how much money the people before you have. Kind of like today.
Yeah, but they had to have some... They had to be making something.
They had money, but they just didn't have as much money.
That's just wild to me.
Yeah.
That these random people are richer than the royal family.
Well, they're not random. They're part of it.
Okay.
They're part of the inner circles of royalty, but they just aren't in charge.
Oh.
Do you know?
I thought they were just randos.
No.
Rich rando people.
They're also royals. There's many royals.
Oh, yeah.
We'll never be royals.
Royal.
We will never be royals, that's true. Yeah, so Yusupov.
I am royalty.
Oh, okay. Yusupov invited Rasputin into his home at the Mocha Palace. He claimed that they were having a night of drinking and chatting, and later would bring over some sex workers for fun.
Yay!
Yay! The other conspirators waited for his arrival within the palace. Rasputin arrives to a beautiful feast of food and makes himself comfortable at the table, ready to hang out with his new bros. He's like, yo, this is great.
Yo, bro. Bro night.
Bro night. Let's
Bro
go.
night.
Let's go, boys.
Boys night.
Yusupov made small talk and served him poisoned wine and cakes,
Yum.
waiting and hoping that Rasputin would eventually pass out.
And then he didn't.
He didn't. The poison was cyanide, because early 1900s, but it had no effect on Rasputin at all. So Yusupov, who was getting impatient, went and grabbed a gun. He came back and he shot Rasputin directly in the chest.
Okay.
Rasputin, of course, flopped over onto the table.
Like a fish. Flop.
Like a fish. Ooh, funny that you say that, but not really. Because of what happens later.
Oh, okay.
And the conspirators cheered. They were like, yes, we did it. And they left him there. They drove to Rasputin's apartment, fucked it all up to make it look like someone, like he had been home. Yeah, so I guess they didn't really fuck it up, but they were like, let's make it look like he came home after he hung out with us so that we aren't the ones who did it, you know?
Yeah.
However, upon arriving back at the Mocha, like at the palace where Rasputin was,
He wasn't there.
Rasputin jumped onto all fours and attacked Yusupov.
Oh my god.
The boys all ran out, spooked out of their wits and screaming, and Rasputin slowly, I'm sure painfully, made his way up the steps, crawling with all his might into the outdoor courtyard, where he was shot twice more by them.
Oh my god.
The conspirators wrapped his body in cloth and dumped him in the Mala Nevka River. A while later, maybe a week or so, his body surfaced and was pulled out, and Rasputin was dead for good.
Wow. R.I.P. to a baddie.
Indeed. So they did eventually kill him, obviously. It took a while, but they got it. And Rasputin was, more than anything, a giant scapegoat for Russia.
Mm-hmm.
His prophecy for the war was correct, and the entire Romanov family was murdered upon the fall of the monarchy during the Bolshevik Revolution. If the Tsar had actually listened to Rasputin, the world might be entirely different today.
Right.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Mm-hmm. And so I got a lot of these resources from this main story on a YouTube video. That's a synopsis of Douglas Smith's book, which is titled Rasputin, Faith, Power, and the Twilight of the Romanovs. Now, this book came out more recently than all of the other Rasputin biographies.
Okay.
And Smith had traveled all across Russia, combing through journals, diaries, and police notes. And I kind of trust in his journalistic integrity that this book is probably the most accurate to what actually happened.
Oh, cool.
I think it's hard to know, and I've seen so much research that has some seriously crazy stories about Rasputin, which are probably false, but maybe could be truth in some way. He was a drunkard, he was a serial sexual predator, he was a mystic, and he was a healer, you know? He was essentially a cult leader that snuck his ways into the royal Russian palace. Even though he was also generous, he was accepting of diverse peoples with diverse backgrounds, and he was a humble pacifist.
Right.
He loved all people. Yeah. It was kind of amazing.
That's so funny how he's, like, the dichotomy of himself.
I know. And, like, it just really goes to show you that people aren't simply good or bad, you know?
Yeah.
People can be both.
Yeah.
All at once.
Exactly.
In the same way that we can feel, like, many emotions all at once.
Yeah.
And I think that's really beautiful. To sum up my story nicely, I kind of stole this a little bit from my resource. definitely, I would go check out the video. We'll have it in the description of this episode.
Show notes.
The legend of Rasputin was fabricated by two sides. The aristocracy, who hated him for being a peasant and acting like a peasant and weaseling into their world, so they worked hard to spread rumors and lies. The more the aristocracy hated him, the more peasants loved him and heroized him and made the legend about him. There was a sense in Russia that the devil walked amongst everyone, and Rasputin was this devil.
Damn.
Yep.
That was a crazy story.
I know. I kind of was a little bit hesitant on doing it because I know it's a little bit stretched out of our wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But I also just love it. It's kind of like my era,
Yeah.
1800s.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, it is.
I was actually inspired because I was observing at a high school last week.
Uh-huh.
And I was sitting in on an IB History 12 class. And the teacher was going over Rasputin.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so it was kind of perfect. We watched like a film about it. And
cool.
I got a bunch of notes. Yeah, they're around somewhere. But it's kind of funny because I watched that and I was like, oh, I have kind of an idea of this. And then I watched the YouTube video that's about Smith's book.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, actually, it's not quite so crazy after all.
Yeah.
And that video that we watched in the high school, or that was shown in the high school, it was old. Like, it was probably like 30 years old.
Oh.
So I think that scholars are kind of going back over everything and being like, maybe we're a little bit wrong. Imagine that. We could be a little bit wrong.
He didn't do all of this crazy shit.
Yeah. Maybe just a bit of it.
Maybe just some of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he could. And then they killed him.
And also don't forget he was still married to his wife.
Oh my god, yeah. Okay, I did forget about her.
I know.
Well,
I know.
And he had kids.
So, hey, if you're out there listening and
you're related to Rasputin,
yeah, write us in.
Write us in? Right.
Write us. Write into us. Write us in.
Write us in, y'all.
Don't people say that?
But that inherently doesn't make sense.
Many things don't make sense.
Write us in. In what?
Write to us. Write into us.
Write into us.
Write us. Like you would say, like, write us. Write.
Email us.
Yeah. See?
Yeah, but people... Oh my god.
Semantics. Speaking is hard.
English is really hard.
Yeah. I'm also so excited for our little thing that might be coming up soon.
Oh my gosh, yes. We might have a little surprise coming up in a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm. Once we get it all figured out, then we
Yes.
can start talking about it, I'm sure.
Yes, so stay tuned for perhaps a little announcement.
Yeah.
Coming soon.
Super exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. And thank you for listening.
And we will see you next time.
Bye. Feel free to email us at ghoulsocietypod@gmail.com with questions, comments, or critiques. If you would like to follow us on Instagram, you can follow us at Ghoul Society Pod. The resources for all of our episodes can be found in the episode's description. It would be super helpful to us if you can leave us a review or give us a rating on Apple Music or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you! There were rumors about Rasputin sleeping with Ella. Fuck. Yeah.
That's
and so
crazy.
The chief of police brought chief of police.
The chief of police.
I think I said police instead of police.
Chief of police.
Kind of reminds me of like Basagna.
Oh, I could go for some lasagna right now. Oh
Me
my
too.
god, that sounds so good.
Well, maybe we go for lunch.
I forgot it existed.
Me too. Body, rock your body right. Down, down, down. Backstreet's back. All right. Yeah. What do you think so far? Just wondering you.
I'm very interested in what he's gonna do.
Because my back hurts. I wish I could be like this.
Could, like, I don't know, sit properly in a chair.
Okay, first of all, fuck you.
No, I understand, but like,
Do you remember the 21st night of September? That's today.
No, that was yesterday. You missed it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Sorry.
Fuck.
You missed it.
Are you ready for the best story of your life?
Is it vampires?
No, we've already done vampires.
And why are you talking in that accent?
I don't know.
Okay, but you have to start the intro.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. I'm so plugged up I can hear it like in my voice. By listening to this by do
you want me to say it?
Okay. Was there an intro again?